Dear chess friends, welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to another beautiful game from the computer chess world. Welcome to a spectacular game played by the most powerful chess engine in the world by Stockfish 17 against another top engine Halogen in a beautiful Petrosian variation of the Queen's Indian defense. And in this video, you see really nice and effective way how to meet this Queen's Indian defense. I think the Queen's Indian defense is really one of the most popular approaches against d4. I had my issues against this opening. Still, I'm always searching for new opportunities, and I think this game is very amazing. It could be your cornerstone. It could be really your setup, maybe against the Queens in the defense. So I think this game is again very instructive. But you know, when the fish is playing, it's also quite a spectacular, of course, a very attractive game here by the strongest chess engine in the world, by the powerful Stockfish 17. So let's see now what happened with white. The fish opened first of all with move knight to f3, which becomes of course the Zuckerdort opening. But after a couple more moves, we have now the transposition into the accelerated here Queens in the defense. Now after move e6 and a3, we have reached now the Petrosian variation. The idea about this move a3 is prevent in some lines when white is trying, of course, normal development of knight to c3. Then black has great counterplay with the move bishop to b4, which becomes a similar idea like in the Nimzo Indian defense, but with an improvement, of course, because here black has already a nice development and has already a great battle for the e4 square. So that's why this pin of the knight by the bishop on b4 could be very unpleasant. a3, nice prophylactic move, still with opportunities. Then afterwards with queen to c2 after potential knight to c3, queen to c2. Here Stockfish 17 is trying to battle for the e4 square. We have now bishop to b7. Halogen immediately goes for the square. We have now bishop to f4, which is a very interesting sideline. Actually, this is even the top suggested move by the Stockfish 17 engine. You should go like this because, first of all, what you're doing with this move, you're delaying a little bit. You're delaying the situation. Probably black can, of course, occupy the e4 square immediately, but now you can challenge it in a different way. You can challenge it always with knight from f to d2, knight from b to d2, with queen to c2. The bishop is powerful here because it attacks already this diagonal, and the bishop is not immediately challenged. For instance, what do I mean about the term challenged? When you, for instance, play the move bishop to g5 here, then after bishop to e7 and potential knight to e4, there could be further trades of pieces, and that's what you're trying basically to avoid. You try to complicate things, you try to keep your pieces on the board, don't trade off too much in the beginning, because then you, of course, when you have more pieces on the board, you have more tactical opportunities. Bishop to f4, very interesting here sideline of the Petrosian variation of the Queens in the defense. Now Halogen goes immediately with the move d5. Stockfish takes, very important move. C takes d5. I think it's a thematic move for this opening because this move again forces a certain reaction by black. If black, for instance, continues with bishop to d5, this wouldn't be so good because after knight to c3, I think white gets an extra tempo in the opening. No way that black is going to give up the light square bishop in the early state of the opening. I think the light square bishop in the Queen's Indian defense is the most powerful piece here for black. Giving it up here immediately would not be a good choice. Now, for instance, you step back, and now with queen to c2, e4, I think again white has an extra tempo. White will get the e4 goal, and from this point on, white has for sure a pleasant game. The issue is also about the move e takes d5. You could do it. It's not a mistake or something, but from a position point of view, I would say, again, not the optimal way to proceed here for black, because now the light square bishop that we have discussed now in the previous line is again blocked now by its own pawn. So again, it's bad. So in both of these lines, the light square bishop becomes really huge positional problem for black. So that's why here after move d5 and c takes d5 that Stockfish played, Halogen played now knight to d5. Stockfish continues now with bishop to g3, still within a beautiful preparation to then afterwards play the move e4. We have bishop to e7. Now comes this idea, queen to c2. Again, a very important move. We don't play here knight to c3 immediately because then after potential, I don't know, castling and queen to c2, here black has immediate opportunities to play the move c5, and then if you try maybe e4, black will trade it off and will challenge then afterwards your center. Queen to c2 is a nice, again, waiting move. You will make the move e4 happen, but no way that black is going to trade off now here the knights on the square c3. Halogen simply continues now with the c5 move, but now comes e4. After knight to f6, bishop to b5, still we're, I think, now in the best line for both sides now in the Petrosian variation. After bishop to b5, Halogen covers, and now a very important move, a thematic move for the queens in the defense from white's perspective, the beautiful move d5. And that's, I think, must know theory if you maybe want to go into this line. It seems so that this should be a bad move because obviously this d5 square is taken 3 times by the pawn, by the knight, and also by the light square bishop. But that's the move that I think cracks, opens the position, makes now this game very interesting. And I also cover many games from white's and from black's perspective here on my YouTube chess channel, also in AI chess, where we analyze the queens in the defense. d5, the breakthrough idea to sacrifice a pawn just in order to get an activity, was always, I think, a theme somewhere in the middle game stage. Now after move d5, if you don't react, obviously d6 is going to happen, e5 and similar stuff. The pawns are rolling, so that's why you have to accept the challenge and you have to play now e takes d5. Stockfish takes, and again, let's see with which piece should we take out now the pawn on d5. For instance, if you play knight to d5, this is already a huge blunder, and it becomes now one-way ticket in white's favor because of this move, knight to c3. And it seems so that nothing spectacular. Maybe you can get back with your knight to f6, but this not working because after queenside castling, there's enormous pressure against this knight on d7. This knight is pinned now by the bishop against the king, but also by the rook against the queen. So now you can maybe try to prolong the game, I don't know, kingside castling, getting out of this attack at least for a while with the king, but now the d-file attack is too much to handle. You can maybe just try bishop to c8, but now look at this, knight to c6. You're trying to play queen to e8, holding your piece of course on e7, but now this other rook is coming into the game. No defense anymore here for black. Game is over. So let's go back after knight to d5 and knight to c3. That was, as I said, a mistake. Knight to d5 black should not play, but we want to of course practice some theory here. After knight to c3, obviously black can also take. Instead of knight to f6, black can also play knight takes c3, but again it doesn't help you out here. After queen to c3 and maybe bishop to f6, again it seems so that black is defending this position. Black gained also now an extra tempo with the move bishop to f6, but now queen to e3, check, you have to cover. Now we trade it off after bishop to e7. Look at this again, this knight to e5 move bothers now black in the continuation of the game. You have to now cover again, queenside castling, and the position is collapsing. So here after queen to e3, queen to e7, queen takes e7. What you could try maybe is king takes e7, but now again queenside castling. You're trying maybe to step back. This other rook is coming into the game, and again in one moment black's king has to step back from the defense of the knight. So there's always the problem around the square d7. So let's repeat again, knight takes d5 in this position is not an option here for black. So why is white then giving up a pawn in the center of the board? After e takes d5, again we have the same problem that we have discussed earlier after bishop to d5 and knight to c3, which becomes, believe me or not, a theoretical novelty. I'm not sure why no one in chess history played this move, knight to c3. Let's see what in one game that I see queen to e2 has been played, then a6, bishop takes a6 and similar stuff. Okay, it's also an option. The engine says should be slightly better here for white, but knight to c3, it's the theme. It's a really beautiful move. It's the theme that we have discussed earlier, that again we get an attack against the most powerful piece of black's, the light square bishop. Very important move. And now if you step back, if you try to make it like this, then again knight to e5 with queenside castling. Look at this, you're trying maybe a6, then we takes again with the same problem. You're trying to cover knight to c6 with rook to e1, again game over. Even if you try maybe to step back here to e6, seems also like a logical idea, because now you're holding further the square d7. That's really, really vulnerable now in this particular line. Then again, knight to g5. We continue the pressure. Maybe black can try, I don't know, something like a6, but now knight takes e6 comes with the check, pardon me, with the tempo against the queen. And then you have to react, and then after bishop to c4, this piece is simply, I don't know, a beast here. If you try to castle, bishop takes e6. Maybe it's not game over immediately, but my Stockfish engine at home evaluates this position is almost 2.5 in white's favor. I guarantee you Stockfish would destroy any other top engine now in this particular position. Bishop takes e6, bishop pair is there. The position is really open. It's a dynamic position. It could explode now. Still with queenside castling opportunities, I think we should not discuss this line further. So that's why for knight to c3, as I said, this is now in move 13, a theoretical novelty of the queens in the defense. Halogen decides to play bishop takes f3. After g takes f3, what Halogen is relying now, okay, we're up a pawn. We have also messed up now the pawn structure on the king side, which makes, of course, almost impossible for white to castle kingside. But now, after a6, Stockfish played bishop to d3, continues now the pressure here, queen to c8, and now a beautiful queenside castling. And this becomes now a really, really spectacular position. Look at this. White has this amazing battery on light squares. White has also the possibility of a g-file attack. This bishop is very, very good, and the issue is that black, at least not immediately, cannot compete against any of these bishops. Bishop to d6, you would love to play maybe somehow to compete against this monster. You would love also to somehow lock this diagonal maybe with g6 f5, but it's a long run now. Stockfish built really, really a spectacular here attacking formation. I'm not sure how many of us could make anything out of this position. Stockfish is down a pawn, but with a clear attacking plan. Obviously, g-file attack, as I said, that's now really, really a spectacular position. So here Halogen castles, why not? Let's see also different options. I've analyzed this line c4. If that would have been played here by Halogen, it doesn't bring you anything. Bishop to f5, castling, again, too much pressure here, against too much activity. Knight to d5 could happen, knight takes d5, rook takes d5, and again, the same problems. Rook from h to d1 is going to happen. Again, the position is collapsing, cracking around the square d7. This is not working. So that's why after queenside castling, here castling now finally by Halogen, and now comes another brilliant move here by the fish, knight to d5. This is now the move that lets the position explode now. What should you do? Here, I think Halogen made its first really inaccuracy, important moment now, I think, of the game. Here, actually, my Stockfish engine at home suggests that you should take knight takes d5, then after bishop to h7, king to h8, and rook takes d5. Again, it seems so that black is getting destroyed, but there is this defensive resource with knight to f6, and then after rook to e5, you simply take, and then after rook takes e7, you can survive this position, I think, for a little bit, because you can bring the queen here on h3, and maybe white can continue the pressure, can build also the battery. But now again, you bring the knight in between, and I think after rook to e3, white has a slightly edge. But if this game reaches the full endgame stage, as I said, if maybe many pieces are traded off with an extra pawn on the queen side, black could have some chances. But after knight to d5 that the fish played, Halogen's response was not knight to xd5, then bishop to d8. And now Stockfish smells some blood here. Stockfish continues now with knight to e3. Very important move. Now the knight that was on c3 gets closer to the king, and especially this attack against the pawn on g7 is very, very important now. It's not present immediately, but we can sense it really that it could come. Bishop to f5 or knight to f5, but at least this knight from c3 becomes now a new attacker on the king side. On the queen side, of course, it wasn't so active. Halogen had maybe a moment to trade it off on d5, but now it becomes really now, I think, a one-way ticket in white's favor. So here, b5. Too slow, this attack on this side of the board, because Stockfish is faster with rook to g1. What should you do? If you play, for instance, c4 here, if you continue the pressure, this wasn't playing the game, then you get this one. Bishop to f5. Again, the position is, I think, again, cracking around the square d7. d7, d7, always a problem about the square. So yeah, after rook from h to g1, that's why g6. Halogen anticipated the possibility of knight to f5 or maybe bishop to f5, but Stockfish plays bishop to f5 anyway. Spectacular move. Let's see, of course, what happens if you take. Halogen didn't dare to play this, but g takes f5 leads into monstrous, into an immortal attack. Unfortunately, maybe for the beauty of the game, this wasn't playing the game, but of course, Halogen is also a strong chess engine, so that's why it didn't play this. But look at this. After g takes f5, knight takes f5, you're trying to, of course, get finally all of this g-file mess, but now knight to d6 comes with a threat against the queen. The queen takes over here on f5. Now you maybe try c4, but it's simply too slow. This bishop is coming, queen to f3 here. If you try, of course, something like, I don't know, rook to g8, that's never a possibility. We should, of course, dismiss this move immediately. Knight takes f7 is immediately checkmate. So here, after queen takes f3, there is this resource, bishop to h6. And after queen takes f5, you don't pick up the queen immediately. That's not the point. Bishop to g7, king to g8, and now knight to f5. If you, for instance, try, I don't know, something like, I don't know, knight to h5 to challenge, then knight to h6 is also a spectacular checkmate pattern, of course, worth to see. But after knight to f5 here, h5 is simply prolonging the game, but now bishop to f6. Look at this, bishop to c3. What should you do? Knight to c5, I don't know, you get check, here check, something like this. And in one line that I've analyzed at home, you could get also checkmated here with a very spectacular pattern. So instead of g takes f5, what you could do, maybe if you're maybe hoping to get the counterattack, b4. This wasn't also played in the game by Halogen, but I wanted to see, does black have any counterplay here in this particular position? After b4, here white would simply take a takes b4, then after a couple of trades of pieces, then you simply get out, and again, you can guess it, the position is collapsing around the square d7. So here maybe you can take, then bishop to e5 comes with a check. Now you take, and then rook takes d7 would be the devastating move. Obviously, you cannot take it with the knight because of the pin, and now I don't know, the position is always bad here because of rook takes d8, and then followed with bishop to f6. You get rid of the key defender of this bishop on d8. So even b4 is not working here, and as we said, g takes f5 also not a possibility here for black. So that's why for bishop to f5, Halogen finally broke the new defender around the square d7. It sensed, of course, that it has some issues there, but now Stockfish plays bishop to f4, includes now a new attacker into the game, and now g takes f5 is never really a possibility because of the g-file attack. Bishop to e7, now comes bishop to h6, king to h8. Halogen says, take the rook if you want. Now at least my king has full security. But now Stockfish, of course, is not an engine that wants to just grab some material. Stockfish always searches for the best opportunity. Now the fish plays a stunning knight to d5. This is the way to go. Let's see now what happens if you play g takes f5. Seems tempting again. Now you finally get out of the g-file attack, but obviously bishop to g7 and knight takes e7 again. A beautiful and spectacular checkmate pattern. So this is not working. So therefore knight to d5, that's why knight takes d5 here by Halogen. Stockfish took, rook takes d5. Again, this ideas g takes f5 are not working because of bishop to g7 and bishop to f6. After rook to d5, we have rook to d8, and now queen to d2, sneaking in with the queen on dark squares, but of course putting more pressure always against this weakness on d7. Very wild stuff. We have now bishop to f6, Stockfish retreats now, we have b4, and now a takes b4, rook to b7, and now rook to e1. Now, there are also some issues of the bank rank. We should not forget about this, because this bishop is actually holding an escape square for black's king. For instance, I've just analyzed also one line, rook takes b4, then we have also this kind of stuff. You could maybe just prolong the game, but now, after a couple more moves, look at this. You don't have good checks anymore. Even if you try something like this, look at this. Takes, and now after bishop takes d7, I just wanted to demonstrate you that there is always a problem of a back rank checkmate. So even if you maybe do something, even if you try to be active with the black pieces here, always a present this checkmate with the rook on the 8th rank. So this not working also here for black. So that's why for rook to e1, Halogen tries c takes b4, trying to open up now the position, but the d7 problem still is not solved for black. We have b3, rook to c1, as Halogen covers it now. After a couple more moves, finally the position collapsed around one square. Bishop to f4, rook to d1, queen to f2. We have now queen takes b3. And now Stockfish simply goes for the further trades of pieces. Why not? Deliver the check. Again, new simplification, trading off everything. Okay, still you have to struggle a little bit here for the win, but obviously with up a piece, this should be completely winning. Stockfish grabs now this pawn also after a couple more moves. Retreats now here with the bishop, goes closer to the action. Halogen tried to battle, but now this bishop is controlling this very important square, and now Stockfish can get the king closer and push this pawn on the queen side. Halogen battles, Stockfish gets the king closer. Now comes this idea, simply getting also the king to the queen side, and after the move king to e8 in this particular position, black resigned. So amazing game, amazing thematic game, I would say. That the position was so tensed around one single square from the beginning till the end of the game. I'm not sure if you ever see if we ever seen something like this. I've covered really many great games, but I cannot remember this pressure around one square for so long. Very spectacular game, again, by the strongest chess engine, by Stockfish. Very wild stuff. I think also a very thematic attack against the queens in the defense. Worth to try at least somehow. This d5 sacrifice to get the initiative, I think it's very thematic. Maybe try it out in some blitz bullet games, and then maybe it could become your home repertoire against the queens in the defense. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. I'll try this opening out for sure here with the white pieces. If you want to see some other beautiful, thematic, spectacular, also instructive chess games like this, check out our commented chess games played by computer series with some more games played by Stockfish and many more. And if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.